Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. It is Monday, August 30th, and this is our weekly Westchester update covering the COVID outbreak and other issues of importance here in Westchester County government. I'm joined, as I am for each one of these updates, by Ken Jenkins, our Deputy County Executive, who will be presenting part of the information that we'll provide for you. Because we have upcoming Labor Day weekend next Monday, our next report will actually be this Friday, September 3rd. We'll meet again at 2 o'clock to deliver an update before we go into the Labor Day weekend, and then we will skip next week because not only do we have Labor Day, but we have some major Jewish holidays that begin with Rosh Hashanah, and our next report after this Friday, September 3rd, will be Monday, September 13th, and we will still try to give you an idea of where we are with our various issues on COVID and then the other things that relate to that. We are in a transitional period as we end the summer and begin the fall season, so there's a fair bit to talk about today, and there'll be even more to go over when we meet again on Friday afternoon. First of all, regarding COVID, to give the numbers, which is always where we start off, as of the state tracker, yesterday's tracker, Sunday, August 29th, we have 2,797 active cases of coronavirus in Westchester County. Most recently, we had 169 new cases that entered our system. And because of what happened over the course of the last 2 weeks ago, we had 208 new cases. So the net result of that has been a drop in active cases from Saturday into Sunday. The total number of 2,797 active cases is basically flat from where we were a week ago on Sunday, August 22nd, where we had 2,793 cases, only 4 cases different. And that's the first time we've gone through a week since the end of June in which we did not have a significant increase in the number of active cases. Now, we track 3 different statistics here, if you've watched this before. We track active number of cases, we track hospitalizations, and we track fatalities. Hospitalizations are for those people who have the disease and are more severely in need of medical treatment, so they're hospitalized. And of course, fatalities are the ultimate worst case scenario when we lose a Westchester resident. And those numbers have given us different interpretations. They have not all consistently moved in the same direction over the course of this pandemic. We've had periods of time where there's been a great increase in the number of active cases and followed by hospitalizations and fatalities. And now we're seeing different things happening. So we're trying to interpret what that really means for us, particularly because during the month of August, we have a summer month where most of our activities are outdoors. We are heading into the fall. The early part of September looks a lot like the summer, but by the time we get to late September and into October, we tend to move indoors with many of our activities, and then we're concerned that the confined area might represent a greater spread of the virus. We don't know. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But just to finish up the statistical information, 2,797 active cases, relatively flat over the last week. Our most recent number of hospitalizations was 108 people hospitalized at the 11 Westchester County hospitals, Westchester residents who have tested positive for coronavirus. 108 of them are hospitalized. That represents a little under 4% of all of the people that have an active case that are being hospitalized. That is a good number as a percentage because what you're seeing in the South right now with the spread of COVID, record numbers throughout Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, those numbers are well above 4% in the need of hospitalization. The number of active cases there and the number of people that require hospitalization is a much higher percentage. We have, in very round numbers, about 2,700 hospital beds in Westchester County. So if we have 108 of them needed for COVID patients, that's a very small percentage, as I mentioned, under 4%. When that number of active cases starts to reach over 1,000, which had happened twice before in the heart of the pandemic, that is when we start to worry about will we have enough healthcare capacity to deal with the people that are sick. And the ability to handle them in a hospital effectively is what will help us reduce the fatality rate. Obviously, some people who contract COVID, given their age, given their existing health condition, are less likely to recover. And so hopefully we have the right medical health facilities available to them so that they can recover. And we've had a relatively successful ratio of people who've been hospitalized and have recovered as a much greater percentage of all the people hospitalized. In terms of the hospitalization rate, it has gone up steadily as well since the end of June. We were in single digits at the end of June. We got into double digits, and we hovered for about 2 weeks in the 20 to 30 range. But in the last few weeks, as the number of active cases have jumped up, so has the hospitalization. We broke 100 within the past week, and we're now in the low 100s at 108, 106 one night, 105, 104. The number oscillates each night. Some people are released, some people are checked into the hospital. But the number is always concerning. That's 108 people that need additional assistance in order to beat this virus. On the fatality side, I hasten to mention every single time I talk about fatalities, every single fatality is a tragedy. If we lose one person, that one person had people who loved them, who cared about them, and we don't treat that cavalierly. And if we only had one fatality a night, it might represent a decrease in percentage numbers, but it still represents a tragedy to an individual's family and friends and the people who love them. We have had a slight uptick in the number of fatalities. We had gone a number of weeks in the latter part of the spring without any fatalities. We were very excited about that. We thought that was a good sign. But the Delta variant that infected more people and hospitalized more people has also had the effect of taking the lives of more people. In the course of the last week, we've lost 5 individuals to COVID, 2,308 as of yesterday, 2,303 as of a week ago. And if we go back 2 weeks, that's 8 individuals we've lost over the last 2 weeks. That number, while it is not rising as steeply as the hospitalization number, which is also not rising as steeply as the number of infections. So what we hope that represents, we don't exactly know, is that there are more people who, because they are vaccinated, are less likely to get the disease, so less people infected. We have less people who are hospitalized because they get the disease, but it's not as severe a level of disease, and then, of course, the less number of people that pass away. Notwithstanding that, 5 fatalities in a week is higher than we've experienced in the last 6 to 7 weeks as a weekly total. We continue to monitor the results to understand what we're seeing in terms of a trend line, and then most importantly, shape our policies around that reality. So as we look at these numbers, we also look at what our vaccination numbers are, and Westchester County has done a very good job in terms of vaccinations. We've seen an interesting statistic when we look at the county center facility, which is the single largest place where vaccinations have been administered. Well over 300,000 vaccinations given out since we opened the doors of the county center as a vaccination center. And we have clinics in White Plains and Yonkers that complement that location. And over the course of the last week, just in the last week, we've had 1,093 first doses administered. So 1,100 people, in a round number, have gotten the vaccine who had never taken it before. That is a big discussion in our society right now. Do you mandate? How do you motivate people who are part of the portion of the population that's unvaccinated? In Westchester County, because of our new population base of 1 million people, our percentage of vaccination for adults 18 years of age and older dropped a little bit. With a smaller population base that we were working off of, we had hit 83%. Now that we are using a different denominator of 1 million people, that number has dropped just below 80%, but it's still a fairly high number in the high 70 percentile range. 18 years of age and older adults who have gotten at least one vaccination dose, and of course the second dose follows 3 to 4 weeks later. The number of those people that have been vaccinated had been slowing down. The demand that was tremendous at the front end of this in January and February, when we first started giving out vaccinations, there was a mad rush. People drove all across the state. They called up and got an appointment 90 days from now, and were frantic to get a more current vaccination number. Now the supply of vaccines exceeds the demand, but we've noticed the demand coming back. And while it's not at the same level of demand, 1,000 individuals is a market improvement. We've been averaging about 100 people a day at the county center. That doesn't compare to the 2,000 a day that we had back a few months ago, but it is more than the 20 per day that we had if you go back to more recent vintage. So we'll see if that means that the recent FDA approval of the Pfizer vaccine, which was announced within the last 10 days, has the effect for some people of giving them a comfort level that the vaccine is safe and is appropriate to try to make their vulnerability to COVID less. With that, we hope that is a sign. We certainly believe that vaccinations are the important tool here. We understand there's different philosophy, different people have different philosophies about this. Our administration has imposed some mask mandates relative to county office buildings. You must have a mask on when you come to a county office building. You must keep it on while you're in the public areas. If you work for the county and you are vaccinated, you can take the mask off when you reach your workstation, or if you're speaking in a group of people, as long as there's fair social distancing. If you are unvaccinated, you need to keep the mask on at all times within county government. That is what we can control by our direction. And we've also had some mask policies that have been reestablished. We had them last year at our beaches and pools. We'll talk about that in a second. So we've had some control over those things. But we do not, as a county government, have general authority to dictate what happens in the society at large. That power does not belong to county executives as well as mayors and town supervisors. Governor Hochul is meeting this week with the state legislature. There's some discussion about the legislature coming back into session. If they do, they may reauthorize some version of authority to the governor, which Governor Cuomo had a year ago. And that is why that grant of authority from the legislature is why Governor Cuomo would establish various quotas for how many people could be in a workplace, when he shut down certain industries and reopened them. All of that was authority that was given to him by the state legislature. That was taken back most recently, as you're well aware of the circumstances. And now Governor Hochul would be looking for some version of those authorities to be able to deal with some elements of this. But how that works out is a matter of state public policy. We are not directly involved in those policies. Our job with the county health department is to implement the policies that the state health department establishes. So as our vaccination numbers continue to rise, we continue to have some other places where we're going to try to make vaccines available. This weekend past, we had a pop-up facility at a facility in the city of Mount Vernon. On Sunday, I stopped by a facility at a church in Hastings-on-Hudson on Saturday to see some of the vaccines given out. Coming up for a period of time later this afternoon from 2:30 to 5:30, Sleepy Hollow Middle School will be open for first doses of Pfizer made available. And then we have some coming up in the future at some other locations. So we're trying to make, in addition to our standard vaccination locations, some additional ones available. We expect there'll be more of them because of the school circumstances, which I'll address in a second. But to try to make it available for those who want vaccinations to be vaccinated and give them greater protection from what will happen in terms of this COVID, this variant. We continue to monitor all of these things as we go forward. I do want to mention, just in general, before we talk about Labor Day, and I ask Ken Jenkins to cover what's coming a week from now, the flags in Westchester County was ordered to half-staff position after the tragedy in Afghanistan, where we lost some of our brave men and women who serve our country in the military in Afghanistan. They're involved in the evacuation of Kabul. And we have loaded at county facilities. Again, the county has control over county facilities. So in the county office building in front of our various parks, wherever we have an American flag, we have loaded to half staff in recognition of that. That request has also been made at the presidential level in the White House and a number of other jurisdictions. We believe that is the very least we can do to show proper respect to our veterans, to our active military, who have paid the ultimate sacrifice of their lives. We're going to have some recognition in a few weeks for 9/11. A little later in the fall, when we get to November, we're going to honor all of our veterans. And of course, Memorial Day in May is a time to honor all those who made the ultimate sacrifice. And we are very alert to and sensitive to the contributions made by the men and women of the military, wherever they may be around the globe. And so out of that respect have we lowered our flags to half staff all across Westchester County. Now, Labor Day is coming up a week from today, September 6th. We have some changes in our recreational schedule that will begin, and I'll just highlight briefly that September 6th, Monday, September 6th, is the final opening day for Playland Amusement Park. If you have not gone out there, it was closed all of last year. We reopened it this year later in the season, in late June, and it's been open now. It'll be open, this is 2 months now and a few days more. But Playland Amusement Park will close at the end of the day on Labor Day, September 6th. Our 3 beaches around Westchester County will close after business on Monday, September 6th. And that would be Playland Beach, adjacent to the amusement park, Glen Island Beach, which we opened a little later in the year because we just got it back from the state when it was used, the area was used as a testing center, and then also the Croton Point Park Beach, located on the Hudson side in northern Westchester in Croton-on-Hudson. All 3 of those beaches will also close at the end of the day on Monday, September 6th. And then we have 4 county public pools, same thing. They'll continue to operate through Labor Day itself and then close at the end of Labor Day. And that would be 2 pools in Yonkers, the Tibbetts Brook Park Pool in the central part of Yonkers, up in the northern part of Yonkers on the border with Hastings. We have the Sprain Ridge pools, of which there are 2 pools there, a kiddie pool and then a larger adult pool. They will close on that date. And then we have Saxon Woods Pool in White Plains, and we also have Wilson Woods Wave Pool in the city of Mount Vernon. All 4 of those locations will also close. All of those things close on Monday, September 6th, a week from today. So if you want to get out there and enjoy the water at those 7 locations, enjoy playland amusement, this is your opportunity to do it between now and next Monday. We'll remind you again on Friday, which will be the last opportunity between then and the weekend. We should point out that our golf courses continue to be open. We have 6 public golf courses. They've gotten a lot of play this year, as they did last year. They will continue to be open. Golf is a sport that you can play well into the fall. And also Bicycle Sundays will continue on Sundays through September and October, with the exception of this coming Sunday, which is Labor Day weekend. So we suspend Bicycle Sunday and Labor Day weekend, as we did for the 4th of July and for Memorial Day, but it will resume the following Sunday, and that's 10 to 2 on the Bronx River Parkway. We close it at the split with the Sprain in Bronxville. We open it up about Scarsdale Road in the Yonkers-Tuckahoe area, and then continue it up to the county center, to Main Street in White Plains. And so Bicycle Sundays will continue to be open. Golf courses continue to be open. All of our remaining parks where you can walk and hike, bike, picnic, all of those will continue to be open, notably Kensico Dam Plaza. The boardwalk at Playland will continue to be open, even though the beach will be closed and the amusement park will be closed. Now, with Labor Day at hand, there's a number of things to remind you about, and our Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins, will cover some of those issues with you right now. Ken.
Thanks, George. As this upcoming Labor Day weekend marks the unofficial end of the summer for many of our residents, you may be planning to spend some time with family, share a meal with family and friends. The County Health Department would like to help residents make all of those celebrations safer, especially in light of the upward trend of the COVID-19 cases because of the Delta variant and the continued presence of that Delta variant that makes a difference. So, 1, the best way to always protect yourself and the people you care about is get the vaccine, get a COVID-19 vaccine. As County Executive mentioned earlier, there's continued places to get that in your local area, in addition to the county center and the Department of Health locations here in White Plains and in the city of Yonkers. Please stay at home and avoid socializing if you feel sick or feel symptoms of COVID-19, such as coughing. Especially during this time of year, some people may mistake some of the symptoms from COVID-19 for sinus infections or regular seasonal allergies. If you feel any of those things, err on the side of caution. Make sure that you keep yourself separated from friends and family, and absolutely go and get tested. If you do plan to share a barbecue, remember, COVID-19 is still a factor. Consider getting tested yourself before asking your guests, or ask your guests to get tested as well before you get together. Keep that size of the group small and maintain social distance to the degree that you can. Only gather with other vaccinated people, and consider wearing a mask when you're not eating or drinking, especially if you're indoors. You know, the weather could change in a heartbeat, so you want to make sure that you can stay outside, with your mask off, if you can keep the social distance happening. But if you're not eating or drinking, make sure to keep your mask on. COVID-19 vaccines are widely available. So we have the County Health Department has Pfizer COVID-19s available at its walk-in locations at 134 Court Street in White Plains. That happens every Friday, including this Friday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Yonkers Clinic at 20 South Broadway in Yonkers, every Monday and Thursday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So take advantage of those opportunities. Certainly look on the county website. Health.westchestergov.com has all that COVID-19 information, testing sites, and vaccine locations. Thanks, George.
I do want to highlight also that we have a weather report that indicates that Hurricane Ida, which has really devastated New Orleans and the Gulf Coast, will be making its way up the Mississippi Valley over the next few days. We'll enter the New York metropolitan area a little later this week, perhaps on Wednesday, and we will be on the usual hurricane watch This storm will be coming in from the west rather than from the southeast, as Hurricane Henri did last week. So we will try to keep posted on anything that happens here in Westchester County to prepare us for whatever rough weather we expect to get. Obviously, Hurricane Ida will lose its hurricane force winds as it travels over that much land, but it will bring rain and it will bring difficult weather conditions. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we get a little further in the week, and we'll have ways of communicating that, and you'll see it, obviously, as you follow the media. One more round of information regarding COVID. We know that the start of school is coming up, and with that thought in mind, we have developed some public service announcements on COVID-19, which feature the group AJR. Now, that's a group that young people will know, a contemporary, one of the groups that have hit Billboard hit records, and we've teamed up as a county with singer, songwriter, and producer Adam Met of that group to produce some information that we think will be important to encourage young people to get vaccinated. You are eligible to get a vaccination from the age of 12 or older, and we want to try to reach that cohort. When we give out vaccination statistics, we generally focus on adults 18 and over, because adults can give consent on their own without parental involvement. If you're 12 to 18, you do need parental approval to do that. But we have two PSAs with AJR, and here's what one of them looks like.
Hey, what's up? I'm Adam from the band AJR. Today I'm excited to talk to you about vaccines.
I promise everything will be alright, be okay.
It's not just about you. It's about thinking about your family and your friends. My experience with the vaccine, it was so easy. I was in and out in like 10 minutes.
It's kind of funny how I keep debating.
Westchester has always been so great to us, and I know there are so many big fans there.
This type of communication from a music group that reaches young audiences, contemporary audiences, we think are very important. We think it'll help advance the vaccination efforts among young people. This is just part of an ongoing campaign that we've had. We've had celebrity PSAs from the New York Knicks, from the Radio City Rockettes. We've had responsible and well-known people in different communities assist with messages that relate to vaccinations, members of the clergy, people who are comfortable in other languages other than English that best reach people who speak those languages as their native tongue. And we're hopeful that the message can get out in a positive, proactive way, that vaccination is the best way to prevent COVID infection, or to minimize the impact of COVID infection if you are infected by this. And it's very important to understand, I know there are people out there who have vaccine resistance and whose philosophy or personal beliefs are what they are. But there can be no doubt that we have dropped dramatically in the number of COVID cases once we began vaccinating. There's almost a direct correlation line between the beginning of vaccinations in January and the tremendous drop of number of cases. And even though there's been a rise recently, I mentioned we were around the vicinity of 2,800 active cases, we were at 11,500 active cases before we issued vaccine number one. In the vaccination that's happened since then, almost 700,000 Westchester residents have been vaccinated against COVID. That's a significant number of people in Westchester County. We've gone from 11,500 cases all the way down to 2,800 cases. Even though we were lower, the Delta variant has kicked it back up some, but we are nowhere near where we were in January or where we were when this began because of the vaccination realities of things. So we thank AJR for taking their prominent name in the music business and lending itself to this effort to try to convince people to consider making sure they're vaccinated. And we'll see how that happens. Schools are going to be opening now. Some open this week, some open next week. We are working with the school districts as a partner. We had a call this morning, Ken, myself, and some of our executives, as we do every Monday morning with a group of school superintendents, to try to help them implement whatever decisions they make locally or whatever decisions are made by the state government, which has the authority over school district. County government does not have the ability to direct school districts what to do, but we work as a partner. So when there are vaccinations asked for, required in other ways, we are trying to be the helpful partner to the schools in making those vaccines available. That's why we're at Sleepy Hollow Middle School later today. We also work with them in the testing, put together a very extensive testing program at no cost to the school districts. And Joan McDonald, our Director of Operations, Emily Saltzman, our Deputy Director of Operations, Aviva Meyer, Joe Glazer, a host of people within the county structure have worked to provide these services so that school can open and hopefully open safely, and that we can try to have as much of a return to normal year as we had. We had hoped to have that a year ago. That did not happen. And we know that young people need to be in classroom as much as possible in order to get the best possible education. We certainly went out of our way to vaccinate teachers, where we really reached out to local teachers unions and administrators, and we have gotten quite a lot of folks vaccinated with teachers in the buildings and other adult workers in the building. So we're trying to do what we can to be a good partner in all of these things, and hopefully these things will matter. And then finally, on the issue of certain fall sports, the ones where there's greater contact between individuals, they've called high-risk sports. The most classic one at this time is high school football, obviously boys football, the marquee sport of the fall, but soccer, cross-country track, girls field hockey, girls volleyball. There's a host of other sports that happen in the fall. Those sports will begin under the same protocol that was used last year when we restarted sports in February. And the expectation is that using testing will help us identify and isolate those individuals that do come down with COVID. We encourage vaccinations of all young athletes. As you know, if you know any of these sports, if you play football, you're right up close and personal with the person that's guarding you offense to defense. And if you're involved in soccer, there's direct contact between individuals, very close quarters that you might be as you go up and down the field. So we hope that we do the best we can to reduce the spread in those contexts, all within the school districts. And we are working with those school superintendents who are making the decisions as they see fit, as directed by the school boards, and as is the direction of the people in each community as to what they'll do. And we'll look forward to see if Governor Hochul comes out with any particular additional mandates or activities and work to implement that. Switching gears, I mentioned before about the parks that we have that are closing, and there are a number of them, as I mentioned. I mentioned Bicycle Sunday will continue and golf continues. So far, year to date, we've had some good numbers. We've had a very small season for Playland this year. We were approaching 300,000 attendees. 2 years ago, we made a great effort to try to juice up attendance. We broke the 500,000 person mark in 2019, which was better than the 4 prior years. 2020, the place was closed. So in the reopening and in the reintroduction of it, we have so far reached 282,000 visitors for Playland this year. We're hopeful that over the next week, including the Labor Day weekend, we can break the 300,000 mark. It won't set any records, but it will be a sign that Playland has been effectively reintroduced into the marketplace. Our beaches have exceeded 60,000 visitors in the aggregate. And that obviously is a good number. Our pools at 155,639. The pools have been a great source. We've kept them open almost for the full term that they would normally be open. And our rounds of golf are very comparable to last year, both over 175,000 rounds. And that number is much higher than we had in a standard year, the non-COVID years. So our recreational facilities have been made available. We don't have head counts on Bicycle Sunday. We don't keep head counts of how many people walk around through Kensico Dam Plaza or enjoy Ward Pound Ridge or Mountain Lakes or Blue Mountain or any of the other parks that we have. But the bottom line is our park system has been out there during the totality of the pandemic, and with a couple of exceptions, to really help all of us relax and enjoy the great outdoors as much as we can, because so many of us have been sequestered away to avoid infection through COVID viruses. As I mentioned, our next report will be Friday, September 3rd. If we do have any reporters that have called in questions, we're happy to try to answer them before we break off the air. But if there are none, then we'll look at the situation with follow-up through Joe Scamato, who is our Deputy Director of Communications. He is available at 995-2941 for anyone who does wish to call and ask any questions about our report today. I should point out that we welcome any of the reporters to be with us here in studio, and we always give preference to the questions that those reporters in-house give us. But by the same token, we want to keep our friends of the media safe from any infection. If they don't have to come out, if they can get what they need through the live feed structure and ask us questions through this structure, we're happy to try to provide an environment by which they can do their job and get the messages out. And we do want to thank all of those individuals for their work to help keep public information flowing. I also want to take this moment to thank members of our communications team. Here today in operation, I have Lisa Reyes, who is with us here, and John Borst is manning the equipment, of which I have no idea how it works. Joe Scamato, as I said, is ranking on board, and Chelsea Pagano is with us today. Those four individuals have been just tremendous assets in helping communicate in a very reasonable way, as we try to do on a regular basis. Catherine Chaffee, our Director of Communications, Carolyn Fortino, our other Deputy Director of Communications, are also integral parts of this department. And we try to get everybody to get through their vacations before we hit Labor Day, so we're all full speed ahead as we hit a date in September. But we're appreciated of all of that. Now, we do believe we do have one question that's come in from members of the press, so I will ask Joe. Joe, please let us know what question we may have.
Hey, it's from David Proper at the Journal News. Which county departments have the lowest vaccination rates? Any indication where the county's vaccination rate is following the newest set of census numbers coming out?
Well, David Proper from LOHUD has asked our county level of employee vaccinations. We did not follow New York City or New York State making a mandate. We felt that we could accomplish the mission at hand, which is to get vaccinations by working individually with department heads, with various labor unions, and we've had some good success. In terms of where we have had success, we have 10 departments that have reached 100% in that regard. The Budget Department, the Finance Department, our Consumer Protection Department, some of our key offices, Office for Women, Office of Youth Bureau, have all reached 100%. And we're very high in the 90% range in the Planning Department and the Law Department. And we have 12 other departments that are 80% or higher. And I use 80% as the figure because 80% is the figure in the population at large. If 80% of the population at large has been vaccinated, and we have departments of county government that are above that, then that represents where we've been successful. Our lowest rates right now are not necessarily discernible. We're trying to get exact numbers from our Department of Social Services, which is our largest department, our Corrections Department, which is our second largest department, and then also our Department of Public Safety, County Police. Those three departments represent large departments. We're still trying to make sure we survey and we know where we are. We think in those departments we still have progress to make, but we look at every person that becomes vaccinated as a step in the right direction. And we're trying to deal with vaccine hesitancy in a very straightforward way, not to hector or harangue people, but to try to address what their concerns are. We do think the FDA approval, as I mentioned previously, is a major step in the right direction. But in terms of where we've had success, those 10 departments I've mentioned, where we have miles to go, a couple of departments I've mentioned, we still have work ahead of us. We have not given up. Every day we're trying very hard to make the case. And I think using the general population as an example, the fact that we had 1,000 first-time doses given out in the last week is a good sign. Some of those people were county employees using these facilities to be able to get vaccinated. We're going to continue to try in the future. And we're happy to give reports where we have hard statistics in the days to come. So we thank David Proper from LOHUD, the Journal News, for asking that question. Again, anyone else from the press that has any specific questions, you're welcome to call on duty today, Joe Scamato, 995-2941. With that, we thank you for tuning in. We hope you'll stay safe in the days to come. Remember, you got one more week for the pools and the beaches and Playland. And we will be back with you on Friday to give you an update. We will also talk a little bit about our 9/11 commemoration that will occur a week from Saturday. 9/11 falls on a Saturday this year. It is the 20th commemoration of that terrible tragedy that is still fresh in all of our minds for those of us who here in the New York metropolitan area who lost loved ones, who lost friends, lost neighbors. And we will talk about that on Friday as to how we intend to commemorate it as we go forward. I'm George Latimer. Deputy County Executive Ken Jenkins joins me. I'm County Executive, and we thank you for your attention and your time. We look forward to speaking to you soon. Have a good day.